Hello everybody, I'm Amay from GTech and today we have two very interesting products with us. As you can see, AMD Ryzen 5 5600G and AMD Ryzen 7 5700G. These are two latest APUs that AMD has launched recently. They are not exactly new, they have been here for quite some time now, but we have them with us today for testing and looking at the products as to where do they fit in, what do they have to offer, etc. etc. So, considering the current scenario regarding graphic cards, which all of you must be aware, there is extreme shortage. Whatever is available at a very high price, and it's a very tricky situation right now to build systems, and especially for people who want to build high-end gaming systems, or people who are into professional work, content creators, or who require high-end GPUs. It's a very difficult time because considering the availability and prices. So taking that into consideration, what happens to people who want to build budget systems, or uh, entry level or mid level workstations? So we all know that the availability crisis will eventually fade out, but until that happens, is there a solution? Well, I feel that there is a solution, and the solution is right here in front of us. Let me explain as to how this can be a decent solution for people who want to build budget workstations or casual gaming systems. So, if we take a look at the specs of these products, we'll get a better understanding as to how they stack up against the other products from the Ryzen 5000 series processors. And the biggest advantage that these two SKUs exhibit is the availability of onboard AMD Radeon graphics, which is an added advantage as compared to the other SKUs. So if we take a look at the 5600G, it is a 6 core 12 thread CPU. It has a TDP of 65 watts, and it has a base clock of 3.9 gigahertz and boost clock up to 4.4 gigahertz. The L2 cache is 3 MB and L3 cache is 16 MB. It offers configurable TDP. That means you can, assuming that the BIOS has the functionality, you can configure the TDP from 45 watts to 65 watts. So for systems where you have to have like really low power consumption, you can configure a lower TDP for better thermals and power consumption. Moving on to the 5700G, it is a 8 core 16 thread processor with a base clock of 3.8 gigahertz and boost clock of up to 4.6 gigahertz. The L2 cache is 4 MB and the L3 cache is 16 MB. The default TDP again is 65 watt, and again this also supports configurable TDP from 45 to 65 watts. So the same logic applies for 5700G as well. Moving on to their other counterparts that are without graphic cards, that is the 5600X and the 5800X. If we take a look at the 5600X, it again is a 6 core 12 thread CPU, as you all know. It has a base clock of 3.7 gigahertz and max boost clock of up to 4.6 gigahertz. If we notice, the base clock has increased in the 5600G by 200 megahertz, and the boost clock has reduced by 200 megahertz. Other difference is in the L3 cache, which is 32 MB for the 5600X, whereas it is 16 MB for the 5600G. So the L3 cache has been halved. Moving on to the 5800X, again it's a 8 core 16 thread processor with a TDP of 105 watts and base clock of 3.8 gigahertz and max boost clock of up to 4.7 gigahertz. So the 105 watt TDP is understandable considering the boost clock of 4.7 gigahertz. Another difference is again the L3 cache, which is 32 MB, and the L2 cache is 4 MB. So 5700G again has half the cache as compared to the 5800X. The 5600X and 5800X do not offer configurable TDP as the 5600G or the 5700G do. So these are the basic differences between the 6 core and 812 thread 5600G and 8 core 16 thread 5700G and their counterparts which are without onboard graphics. Now that we have taken the specs into consideration, let's do a quick unboxing for both these products. So this is the Ryzen 5 5600G. Let's see what we get in the box. So you get the basic CPU and you have this stock cooler. And we get some installation instructions and some manual. So this is what you get in a 5600G. So the stock cooler is basic, so I think it should get the job done. But if you are looking at overclocking or want more performance, then I would suggest using a discrete cooler. Either it can be an air cooler or a liquid cooler. Let's take a look at the Ryzen 7 5700G. The CPU, some manuals and installation instructions. Again, we get the same type of stock cooler as we saw in the 5600G. So looking at the cooler, I'm not too sure whether this is the ideal cooler for an 8-core CPU. Of course, it will get the job done, but if somebody is building a system with the 5700G, I would highly recommend going for an aftermarket better cooler. The reason for saying so is quite simple. The boost frequency is more or less dependent on the cooling that the system has, and as we know, the 5000 series, they have much higher boost clocks, but they do tend to run a little bit hot. So if you have better cooling, the boost frequencies, the residency at higher boost clocks will be more, so you'll get better performance. So better the cooling, better the performance. It's as simple as that. Now that we have taken a look at the actual contents and the specifications of these CPUs, I would like to share some more information about these two products, which can be handy depending on what your usage and application is. The APUs offer slightly better memory overclocking potential as compared to the regular CPUs like 5600X or 5800X. From my personal testing, I have seen that both these APUs scale really well when it comes to memory overclocking. So let's say in case of 5600X or 5800X, if you would get around 1800 megahertz to 1900 megahertz for the fabric frequency, you can easily run these at 2000 megahertz. So what that means is that you can run the CPU in 1:1 ratio memory running at 4000 megahertz. So when the FCLK and UCLK, basically memory clock and fabric clock, is in 1:1 ratio, you get the best balance of performance in terms of latency and memory bandwidth. So as far as my personal testing goes, I haven't come across non-APU products which have gone more than 1900 megahertz. It is more or less the ceiling, you can say. So this is an added advantage with these CPUs if you are into memory tweaking, overclocking to get better performance. It's actually an added advantage because the onboard graphics on these APUs, they share the system memory. So if your system memory is giving you better performance in terms of speed and memory frequency and latency, you'll get better GPU performance also, since there is no on-die VRAM buffer that we see on regular graphic cards, and that memory is much faster as compared to the system memory. So there is a compromise there. So but this small advantage can help in getting the last bit of. So this additional small increment in performance because of the overclocking potential will give us better performance in GPU specific application as well as CPU specific applications. So yeah, from an enthusiast perspective also, it's a nice thing to have for somebody who wants to tinker around just for the sake of fun. So this is a advantage from my perspective. So we shall be testing these CPUs in different synthetic benchmarks as well as few basic games which are more or less esports specific like CSGO, Dota, because considering the GPU that is there on board and its capabilities, it's a no-brainer to consider that you will be using the onboard graphics for very casual gaming at 1080p resolutions. If you want to do gaming at 2K or 4K, you'll most probably be having or be considering a high-end discrete GPU. So it's pointless to test them on such type of games or resolutions. So we have included a variety of synthetic benchmarks and we have made a comparative analysis with graphs, which you will see shortly, and also we have test data of the other 5000 series processors, that is 5600X, 5800X, 5900X and 5950X. You might think, why are we considering the 5900X and 5950X? The reason being that if you are in the market to build a system and if you are aware as to what your performance expectations are or what type of performance you are targeting, it gives a clear idea as to how these different processors stack against each other if we are talking about pure CPU performance. So that is the reason we have included graph which has performance figures of all these CPUs in different synthetic benchmarks just to give you a rough idea as to how they stack against each other. Accordingly, you can take a informed decision as to which particular product is great for you or suits your needs better. I think the benchmarks and the information we are trying to share here would be helpful in that regard. Let's take a look at the benchmarks and the performance. now that we have taken a look at the performance figures, we have seen the graphs, the performance, the benchmarks, etc. Now, there are some very obvious and some very interesting conclusions that we can draw after studying this data. Let's consider what all observations we have made. Now, the 5600X and the 5600G, which are the 6 core 12 thread parts, the 5600X is faster than the 5600G, but if you see, the delta between the two is not that great. It is there, but it is not something that you can say it's a substantial difference. Same is the observation with 5700G and 5800X. The 5800X, yes, is much faster, but again the delta is small, not negligible but small, and it's not big enough to cause any doubts as to whether it really makes any sense. So the bottom line being that in both these comparisons there is very small delta in terms of pure CPU performance is concerned. As we saw from the onboard graphics gaming performance, as it's meant purely for casual gaming at 1080p resolutions, at like basic games like CSGO, Delta, just for recreation. These cannot be full-fledged gaming GPUs. There is a reason why discrete graphic cards exist. So that is a pretty given observation. It's a no-brainer actually. But compared to the onboard graphics that we see usually on other CPUs, performance is really very strong when we talk about only onboard graphics. Now, let's take another scenario into consideration. Let's say you are not happy with the performance of 5600G and you say, no, I want 5600X. Okay, fine. In that case, even if you don't want to invest in a graphic card right now, you will still require at least a basic graphic card to have display, because the 5600X, as you know, does not have onboard graphics. So you'll need at least a basic 4,000-5,000 rupee GPU just for display purposes. So that is an additional cost apart from the CPU and the remaining system cost. When you take that cost into consideration and you compare it with the 5600G, suddenly the 5600G becomes a much more valuable option. It has the same core count, it has the same thread count. Boost clocks, base clocks are also almost similar, not same but similar, and even then you get onboard graphics. The only difference is the amount of L3 cache. The 5600X has more L3 cache as compared to 5600G. But then again, the value proposition because of the onboard graphics changes all the equations. So same scenario, same observation is seen when we compare the 5700G and the 5800X. So taking all of these factors into consideration, I personally feel that you can definitely consider these two products for building your workstation or gaming system or your media center or HTPC or anything. So as of now, if you don't want to invest in the expensive GPUs where the prices are highly inflated, you can buy this, use the onboard graphics for the time being, and if it serves your purpose, beautiful. But if you require a discrete graphic card in the future because of your application, I'm sure the prices will regularize eventually. Maybe let's hope they happen soon, and it's definitely not going to remain the same forever. It will eventually come down, availability will be better, prices will come down. So when that happens, you can choose whichever graphic card you want based on your requirement and your budget, and you can put it in the system and just stop using the onboard graphics. Isn't it a win-win situation? I feel it is. Apart from that, again, me as a overclocker or an enthusiast, the memory overclocking angle is more exciting for me. So yes, I do use it quite regularly for testing different memories, and it's good fun as compared to the 5600X or 5800 or 5950X. Not that they do not overclock, but overclocking memory on these APUs is little bit more fun. So I tend to use them for testing purposes. So taking all of these factors into consideration, I honestly feel that these are some really interesting products considering the price point they are available at and the feature set that they offer. So definitely worth considering. So the 6 core or the 8 core, depending on what your requirement and your budget is, you can go for it. And that I guess covers all the aspects that we had to cover in terms of these two products. I feel they offer excellent value and are very exciting products. You can definitely consider them in your builds. And if you have any more questions, queries, or suggestions, do feel free to share it with us in the comment section. Thank you very much.